Many of us work so tirelessly in our lives for our assets, our property, our bank accounts, and most importantly, our money. In today's video, we're going to discuss how to protect your property, your assets, or your money. Most importantly, how can you safeguard whatever you've worked for your entire life? Most of us, our lifespans stretch from 21 when you begin working, when you leave school, up to about 80 years if you're very, very lucky in your lifetime. So today's video, let's look at all the possible ways you can legally protect your property in all ways. So welcome Simply Legal and let's go. Welcome everyone, Simply Legal. My name is Kahuma, the usual host on this channel, and it's very good to have you back on this platform. For those who are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, share these videos with everyone who you know will love legal content and will love to have the law simplified for them. Well, before I even begin, again, thank you for all the support that you've given me on both TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and also YouTube. All platforms in their respective manners. The videos that I've been doing lately have been getting a lot of backlash, I've been getting a lot of views, especially on TikTok. My dear TikTok fans, thank you so much for both the love and the hateful comments, because they still build the brand either way. And I love simplifying the law for people to understand. Straight to the point, how do you protect your property? I'm going to give scenarios especially concerning land and especially assets, like which are physical assets like buildings. So let's look at the first scenario. Look at a situation where you've worked your whole life and then someone wants to come and, let's say, fraudulently forge a title and then take your property away. There you can do what is called lodging a caveat. You can go, the moment you notice that your property is under siege, or someone is trying to steal your property, whether it's land that you've bought or someone's even trying to maybe steal your car, maybe using reverse methods like accessing your land titles or your logbook, whatever it is, whether it's your land or a building that you've just made, then you can approach a lawyer. Your lawyer is then going to lodge a formal application in court to be able to ask for a caveat. Now, what is a caveat? Many times I've talked about a caveat on this channel and on different social media platforms. A caveat is basically a document which stops any dealing from happening on your land, or stops any activity from happening on any piece of land or asset that you own. A caveat is basically a notice to show that, hey, I have this piece of land here on Ridgeway Drive, Kololo, and I'm putting this caveat here to state that I, Terry Kahuma, am the owner of this land. I bought this land, so no dealing or no activity or any happening should be able to take place on this piece of land. So basically a caveat is a warning. It's a warning sign to show that this particular piece of land, nothing should happen on it until a further lawsuit is being, or a further lawsuit, maybe disagreement, or maybe anything further concerning that piece of land or asset is being resolved. So that is one of the quickest ways. In fact, we call them interim remedies. An interim remedy is basically you are giving the fact that if someone is contesting your piece of property and you know that you're the rightful owner, if they bring a fake title, then you can lodge a caveat onto that piece of land, and then you can present your legitimate title that, hey, I'm the actual owner of this land in Chanja, block this, or I'm the owner of Cham Towers in town. So I just wanted to explain to you what a caveat is. So let's go to step 2 of this video. Number 2, the moment you then put a caveat on your piece of land, you can then move for another application for a temporary injunction. Now, what is an injunction? So many times I've also talked about what an injunction is. An injunction is a court order which your lawyer duly applies for under the courts of law, which is a document which stops anything from happening on your piece of land pending a further lawsuit. So an injunction is basically a document that you get from court through your lawyer that is going to stop anything from happening on a piece of land, especially concerning issues of someone is trying to sell your land fraudulently, maybe a bank is trying to take your piece of land, maybe in terms of mortgage or in terms of a loan, and let's say anything concerning a dispute and your piece of land or property is under siege or someone is trying to sell it, then you need an injunction. There are 2 types of injunctions. Like I said, there are temporary injunctions and the permanent injunctions. A temporary injunction is one which it's kind of related to a caveat, but an injunction that you get in a temporary way is something that you get to be able to stop anything, maybe to stop a fraudulent transaction. Let me give an example. I'll still give the example of someone who is trying to sell your piece of land fraudulently. If someone comes up with fake titles, so many times in land's office we face situations where someone has gotten a fake title and they're interested in your piece of land, they want to sell it, and someone alerts you that, by the way, someone has actually sold your land to a buyer. You can go and contest that purchase or that transaction through lodging a temporary injunction. A permanent injunction comes in situations where the the situation is so contentious, the situation is so complicated that person already sold your piece of land even when you're the legitimate owner, and that the buyer of that piece of land, which happened fraudulently, is also demanding for their money back. They have all sued in court, so that you can actually put a permanent injunction which can then hold that piece of land, stop it from anything happening onto that piece of land until a lawsuit is finally resolved. So I hope you've understood those interim remedies. But for this video to become more and more interesting, let's change environment. So step number 3, it is also important, and this may be the most obvious, is to actually register your assets. So this is a very clear way of doing things, and I guess everyone does them, but it may not seem so obvious for especially people who purchase things and do not go through the legitimate way of transferring assets into your name. Now I'll give you a very big example. Most people will buy a piece of land, but they will not undergo the process of transferring that land into your name, or transfer of title. What does this mean? Transfer of title is basically you, after a land purchase or after buying a car, it's always important to transfer that piece of property from the other person's name who was the seller to you who is the buyer. So I've gotten situations where many people have contacted me and they've asked me, cancel, I bought this piece of land from this person, I still have the seller agreement here, but then I didn't go through the process of transferring of title. So you find that the other person, yes, sold the piece of land to you, or sold a piece of, let's say, property to you, like let's say Cham Towers or Nick building or NIC building, and then the person sells it to like 5 other people. So you find that so many people are going through this kind of situation. They get a piece of property, they buy it from a seller, and they rely solely on the seller agreement, but then the seller sells it to like 10 other people, claiming that this property is still legitimately mine. So another way of protecting your property and assets is to be able to go through the process of transfer of assets from your name, or from the buyer's name, from the seller's name to the buyer's name. So all of that is going to help you to be able to prove that in case any fraudulent transfer occurs, or in case the other person sells your piece of land that you've bought to another person, then you can then prove that, hey, you sold this piece of land to another person, but the seller agreement is here, number 1, and it's also backed up by the new certificate of title, or the new deed for my international viewers, or my new land title. So you're going to have both a seller agreement and you're going to have the land title. So that is going to help you to be able to protect your interest in that land. A point to note in this video is that whoever has any piece of land that they are, or any issue that they're undergoing concerning their piece of land, there are 2 types of interests. They're what are called legal interests, and they're what they call equitable interests. Now, any piece of property that you buy, whether it's a car, whether it's a land, whether it's a building, any piece of property that you buy, you have what's called legal interest. So legal interest is basically you have first right interest in any piece of property or any piece of land. You have legal interest which is enforceable in court because you have actually paid for this piece of property, and the transfer of this property from the seller to you, who is the buyer, has been done through the formal process of transferring of property to your name, or transfer of title to your name. Equitable interest is when, let's say, you have only bought the piece of land but you're only relying on the sale agreement. There you have equitable interest, but then the fact that you've not transferred the piece of property or land into your name, then you do not have legal interest. So legal interest is full interest, equitable interest is ordinary interest. You have an enforceable interest, but it's not as strong as legal interest. So let us go to number 4, 5, and then we can wrap up with this video. The 4th way of being able to protect your property is through what's called wills and trusts. Now, many times I've talked about what a will is on this channel. A will is basically a legal document expressing how you would want your estate, your property, and your assets to be governed at the time of your death. So a will is just basically a document which you draft with your lawyer and 2 other witnesses, where you are going to state that the estates that have governed all my 10 pieces of land, all my offshore accounts, they're all going to go to my 5 children, and you're going to clearly state which child gets which, or if you want to put your estate in a pool, or you want the proceeds of your estate to go to a certain cause. So a will is basically a document which expresses how you want your estate to be governed, and a will only takes effect at death. So a will is another way in which you can be able to protect your property. You can protect your property both in life and in death. You can do this because a will only takes effect at death, and you can make sure that you safeguard your property from, let's say, relatives want to steal your assets, maybe the bank wants to steal your assets, or anyone, maybe your co-workers. You know, many people would want to steal your hard-earned sweat that you worked for in this lifetime. And onward to the final step, let us talk about leasing of your land. Now, many of you may be asking, is leasing or is a lease a way of protecting your land? I would say yes. Given that, let's say you buy land in Boyogedere, or you buy land wherever you are all over the world, in Massachusetts or Ohio, the moment you buy a piece of land and you want to protect that land, let's say you want to protect it from squatters, you want to protect it from trespassers, you can actually rent out your land or lease your land. You can lease your land for a specific amount of time and for a specific amount of money that you will agree with the lessee. So the lessee is the person who you lease out the land to, and you are the lessor. Many people have leased out their family land for 99 years, for 50 years, and they always get a monthly income from the person who is leasing or renting out your land. To me, that is another way of how you can be able to protect your land from people who want to carry out dubious activities on your land. Many people buy land and they can have that land for like 30 years, but they don't use that land for anything. So thank you everyone for listening to me. I mean, yours truly, Terry Kahuma. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, share all these videos with everyone who would like to share this legal content with. Oh, and by the way, for more information, click on these videos here for more Simply Legal. Until next time, bye.